back to Ill Eagle Culture Brands Red Tape Talk. I am your host, John Ostos, aka Ill Eagle CEO, and I'm here with my two counterparts, Dion, Two Cup Larry, and Cody, Big Meat Mauk.
Yeah.
And today we have a super special guest on with us. You might have seen him on Instagram where he does a lot of his work and has, I believe, one of your biggest followings. But Matt Kim, welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. This is a fantastic platform, fantastic show. Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome, man. Thanks. So let's just jump right into this, man. We have a lot of questions we want to ask you. We want to get into kind of who you are, where you come from, how you created your following. I did look at your Instagram a little bit. And as far back as I could go, I only identified that you used to be a car guy. And now you're doing all this political talk and kind of sharing some truths and some facts with people. So you want to break down a little bit of who you are, where you came from, and how you got started?
Yeah, I started in my previous life. I call it my previous life. In my previous life, I used to mess around with cars. It used to be a hobby of mine, a passion of mine. And it's just something I don't do anymore. I don't. There was a time. There was a time where I really thought that goods, that popularity, that social cred, I thought these were the most important things. I thought how people perceived me was the most important thing in my life. But as you get older, as you start going through experiences, as you start seeing how the world and society and government is constantly screwing you at all times, things like worldly possessions, it just doesn't mean much anymore. You lose focus on what's important. And what I found out, especially after having my first daughter, is that family, community, society, your neighbors, people around you, that's the most important. I was driving around and I was at the stoplight and I saw this nurse sitting in the stoplight in the car next to me. And she had on her mask and in her eyes, this is like early 2020, like early COVID. In her eyes, you could see she was like legit scared because early 2020, no one knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Everyone, we laugh about it, we mock it, we talk shit about it now. But early 2020, maybe like April, May, dude, a lot of people were scared. May, June. And I was sitting there and she's going to work. And in her mind, whether it's true or not, in her mind, she felt like she was going to risk her life to save somebody. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's why she went. She didn't have to go. It was essential workers only. And I could see just in that 1 second, looking at her eyes, she was like, I'm willing to die. I want to go help somebody.
Mhm.
And I felt like just the biggest douche in the world.
Wow.
I'm sitting there in like this Lamborghini. This lady's like trying to live my best life. This lady's sitting in the car next to me, risking her life, at least in her mind. She's risking her life. And you got to think in the morning, she woke up that morning and she's like, man, do I want to go or not? I just didn't feel right about it. And that car parked in my garage for maybe 6 or 7 months, didn't move from that day on.
Wow.
And eventually someone showed up and said, hey, like, I'll buy your car. It's when cars kind of went crazy and car prices went really nuts, kind of 2021. I was like, dude, take it. I'm going to sell it. And I got rid of it. And I never looked back, never missed it, never regretted it. And, I loved it. I loved driving around. That was like my favorite thing to do. But that's kind of why I went away from that. It was just that one split second moment where you see it in someone's eyes. Like they're risking their life for like to better society, to help other people. And I'm being a douche. And I just couldn't do it anymore. And I sold it. And once I got rid of my car, once I had that moment, I was probably off the internet for 3 years. I didn't sign in. I didn't do any Instagram. I used to do like car vlogs back in the day when I had my car, and I stopped doing that altogether. Summer of 2020, I started live streaming from my house because everyone's locked down. And while I'm live streaming, I'm talking about things like this is a new world order. Like, is this a planned pandemic? Are they gonna try to change the way that we live our lives? I'm thinking this stuff, and I'm not watching content. I'm not watching Alex Jones. So this is all in my head, right? And I'm just saying it out loud. And YouTube kept on deleting my videos, saying that this is misinformation, that you're being dangerous, that medical misinformation, all this stuff. And for a quick second, I was like, dude, what if I'm wrong? What if what I'm saying is actually harming society? Because I feel like I'm right. I feel like this shit's bullshit. But what if I'm not? For that small percentage chance, I was like, dude, I just don't want to deal with YouTube keeps on telling me that I'm lying. I didn't know I was being censored at the time. I just shut off the internet. And I didn't go back on the internet until I started doing this podcast.
Wow.
What made you wanna like get back on and just spread truth, or what was kind of your goal when you started back up?
So I my daughter was born in 2022, my first daughter, my only daughter. And I was home one day and I'm yelling at the TV. I'm yelling probably at Fox News, probably at Sean Hannity for saying how much he loves Lindsey Graham, something stupid. And my wife comes running down the stairs and she's like, "You're gonna wake up the baby, go tell someone that cares."
Wow.
And it was that moment, I was like, huh, I'm gonna tell someone that cares. And that day, the very next morning, I walked into my office and I told the guys in my office, "Hey, we're gonna start a podcast." And Will, who's still with me to this day, Will looks right at me. He goes, "I like podcast." And I Googled how to start a podcast. And that's how we started. I had never been on a podcast before. I had never tried to do any sort of this type of political or social issue content before. It's not something I ever thought about. And the first few months that you do it, like, no one listens. Your
Right.
friends tell you that they listen, but they're lying to you, right? Because you're like counting your views. And 20 friends told me they watched, but I have 15 views.
Yeah.
So somebody's lying to me, right?
What did what did you if you don't mind me asking, what did you do for a living prior to?
So I have a lighting company. I sell commercial industrial LED lights. I'm essentially a glorified light bulb salesman.
Mm, okay.
And it's still what I do. It's still what pays the bills. And this is something that I just kind of started because I felt like I had something to say. I just wanted to say something. Dude, never in a million years did I think so many people would listen to me. I think I did my first like talking head clip where I'm talking to a camera like I do on Instagram. I started that maybe 13 months ago, a little bit over a year ago. So it was Father's Day last year. When you start doing that, you have no idea that so many people would listen.
Mm.
You know, like it's not something you plan for. It's not like I'm going to pick up however X many followers in this many time. When you start talking to a camera, in my mind, I was like, if 5,000 people listen to me in 5 years, that's a huge success. That's a lot of damn people.
Mhm.
5,000 people over the course of 5 years, that's a lot of people to listen. That was kind of my goal. I had no intent on it becoming so big so fast. And I'm blessed. I truly believe that. But it wasn't my goal. So I still do my lighting company. I don't even know what I'm doing with this. I still don't know because it was never my plan or my goal to kind of be this guy that talks on the internet. It never occurred to me.
Well, I think why you're becoming so popular is because what a lot of people are saying is obviously they don't trust mainstream media right now, and so they're looking for people with a voice to try to find the truth and try to figure out what's going on in the world and just to get a different viewpoint from several different people. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I listen to so many podcasts now, including yours. Huge fan of Sean Ryan, by the way, and so I just listened to your guys' podcast twice now, and so it's just feel like a lot of people are just turning to podcasts, and that's why they're becoming so popular right now. We're just trying to find the truth, and you'll obviously never find that on mainstream media right now.
Yeah, it's tough, you know. I think the moment that I started having what I would call maybe a unique perspective, being able to see the world more clearly, that happened when I actually turned everything off. So prior to doing a podcast, I used to consume so much content, especially because I'm just watching the news constantly, watching Fox News and okay, I want to see what the other side is saying. Okay, I'm watching CNN. And then I turned it off. I stopped listening to other people and I started just looking at topics that I cared about instead of caring about what they want me to care about. And that's when I started seeing the world a little more clearly. Because you get clarity, because you're not bogged by all these other ideas and
Yes.
all these other things in your mind. A lot of people say, well, Matt, I've never heard someone make this point before, or I haven't thought about it like that. I don't, I didn't know that. I don't know what other people are saying. So I don't know if I'm saying the same thing as them or I'm saying something different. There's no way for me to know because I don't watch them. I think that's really the moment that I started offering more value to society because I'm saying things that other people aren't. And I only can do that because I don't know what other people are saying.
Sure. How did you and Sean become connected?
He he actually started following me, I think maybe February or March, something like that. And I remember this one moment. I was following him, and there was this one day. I think it was after the State of the Union address, and Sean Ryan was in Washington D.C. and he went to one of these political events afterwards, and he sat outside and he was like, "This is bullshit. The whole thing is rigged. These guys don't care. Neither side cares." And I've been feeling that, and I just messaged him that day. I was like, "Dude, it's broken." And ever since then, we've just been going back and forth. We just kind of caught each other at the right moment, the right frame of mind. And I'm going to say about a month ago, I was coming back from Idaho. I did a trip to Idaho to do an interview over there. And I was on my way back. And on the plane, I just, something in my heart said, reach out to Sean. Like, you got to talk to him right now. So I messaged him, like, Sean, like, let's get together. And he's like, yes, I feel like we're supposed to get together. And I just drove up to Tennessee. We went out to lunch. We didn't record anything. We just kind of talked and hung out. And we ended up talking for like 5 or 6 hours.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
He's like super genuine person. He really cares.
I could tell.
He just sees the world differently. He asks really good questions. He's a phenomenal listener. And ever since then, we've just kind of been going back and forth.
That's awesome.
It just see it everything that he's saying and you're saying, it feels like it's connecting with a lot of people right now. Especially you know, I got to be careful what I say because I'm full-time military, but speaking of somebody that's in the military, it's very disheartening to see what's going on in the world today, especially with our government. And I just feel like it's going down at a rapid rate. I mean, if you think back how many years our government has been in existence, it's always had some level of corruption. I mean, we've known that for a long time, but it seems like nowadays it's just becoming more and more rampant. And one thing that Sean had said that stuck out to me during your guys' interview was like, okay, when are these governors going to get together and really get serious about this and take care of their people? You know, me being, I'm a full-time guard recruiter. And what I tell people that come into my office, I say, your number one boss is the governor. We serve the state as in the state of North Dakota. So your number one boss is the governor. So that's who you report to first. So I'm in the same boat. It's like, when are these governors going to come up with a plan and get together? But he's absolutely right. It's like we are being tracked 24/7. No matter what you do, you're always being tracked. And I don't know how you do that. You even asked that too. It's like, I don't know how you guys can make it happen, but I feel like I was when they brought up Kamala Harris, I was freaking having a panic attack because I went online, I saw like, we're for her, we're for her. And I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. What is going on? Like, she was polling at 1% in 2020 and she was the worst VP pick ever, but now she's the choice and people are buying it. So I was having a panic attack. It was like, I'm in the military, and if she's going to be the one that's the commander in chief, like, I'm freaking terrified. I'm terrified. And I'm not only terrified for me, but I'm terrified for everybody that I put in the guard that I've served with, because I know what's coming. I know we have already seen that the past 4 years with Biden. We've seen it. And it's something that's on the horizon, that you know what they want. Everybody knows what they want. The military industrial complex is never going to stop, ever. It's only going to become worse. And that's why they want to take Trump out so bad, because he doesn't want any wars.
I think it's always been really corrupt. The more I look into it, the more history I learn, the more new history I learn, because all our history we've ever been taught is revisionist history, right? It's not the actual history. It's not actually what happened in life. But now we have the advantage of technology and we can figure out what really did happen. And as you start to learn and start to peel away different parts of history, you're like, all right, it's always been broken. It's always been corrupt. They're just getting so proud that they're so good at what they do and that they're so unstoppable that they're getting really careless right now.
Yeah.
And the more careless they get, they're just prone to mistakes. And as more and more mistakes happen, I think people are starting to wake up. We're at this precipice of people starting to realize that something in society is broken. I think that's why um, my page and what I've done has gone so big, because they're like, dude, I didn't know we could say that. I didn't know we could talk about these
Yeah.
things. And I'm very careful with my words, especially in the short form content. I choose my words extremely carefully so that I can't get in trouble. And when they try to delete a video, I know exactly that it's agenda driven, that it's not something I said. So I'm very careful on the words I choose, specifically because I want to know when they try to remove a video or they suppress a video. I'm like, oh, they don't want people thinking about that. They don't want people to know about that. They don't want people talking about that. And then you get a feeling of, oh, they're scared. I really do think that the people that are in charge of the world, and I don't know who they are, but you can ask me a million times. I think the people that are in charge of the world, I think they're getting careless, and I think they're scared. I think they see the movement of people gathering. I think they see that people are legitimately upset. And if enough people push back, I think they retreat for a little bit. They're not suicidal. They're not going to go in and force their agenda on people. That's just not how they operate. They like to trickle it in. And if enough people wake up and say enough is enough, it may not stop them forever, but at least throw a pebble in their way. They'll have to slow down at least enough. And maybe they'll give us enough time to regroup. Maybe it'll give us enough time to get some actually strong, good leaders in charge of our society. Until then, the best we can do is just try to slow them down and give society time to catch up.
Is that even possible though? Because I mean, we've been talking about this for a while now. The day that Trump came down the escalators, they turned on him. Everybody knows that. The media attacked him. They went after him with his money and all these indictments and blah blah blah. And then in 2020, when he supposedly lost, we all know how that went, right? They left him alone. They didn't talk about him for 2 years until he announced that he was rerunning, right? And then he comes back, and then this happens. The attempted assassination happens. So are they even going to allow him to even get close to the White House again?
I think well, there are obviously two roads this can go, right? One is Trump wins. And if Trump wins, I honestly think that Trump winning will be a placeholder in society, not to discredit him at all. But I think what it does is give us time to catch up as a society and try to fight back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One election's not going to change the world. One election won't change America. It's just not possible. It takes time. I think he'll buy us time to gather and figure out what we're really doing. And I think of that next 4 years, if Trump were to win, an actual real leader that has the better interest of the people has to emerge. I really do believe that. I think that's the only chance we have. I think 2028 is actually more important than 2024. If the other side wins in 2024, if this other side wins this year, I think people are going to be fed up, and I think that may be a dangerous time. But things are going bad as it is. They'll get worse, a little bit worse, but we already know what they're doing. We
Yeah.
already know the direction they're going. It's actually easy to fight against an agenda that you know what it is. Again, I think 2028 is really the year. I don't think 2020, I think 2024 is important. I think 2028 will define our lives, our children's lives, and our next generation's lives. So I'm encouraged by the amount of people that are coming together. It's amazing that you guys and me, that we can connect, we can have these conversations. I think we need to keep on growing on this, growing community, growing movement. And I think that's possible. I'm very optimistic about the future.
One thing we've talked about it before. One thing I've noticed in this last like 8 years since Trump has ran for presidency is the amount of people that are paying attention now. and hopefully we get more people. But it just seems like more and more people are starting to pay attention about all the BS that's been going on, and all of the stuff that they try to pull. And whether or not you believe that they released COVID on purpose, it's up in the air. You know what I mean? So it's just, I feel like this is one of the most important times that you could possibly be living in right now. Is just the they call it the Great Awakening, right? For a reason. It's because so many people are starting to pay attention now, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think people are noticing. People are waking up. I think we are in a pendulum swing, which a lot of people have mentioned before. And I think it's a good thing. I think that society goes hard in one direction for 50 or 60 years, and then there's a natural correction. I think we're in that correction phase. I think for that to happen, we as a society actually have to improve. We have to get better. I love that you guys are about fitness and you guys are working out in the gym and all of this. I think all these things are important. These things that we've stopped doing over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I think we need to bring masculinity back in men. I think that's important. I
Yes.
think we need to clarify gender roles again. I think that's important. I think once you have those roles set, that there's actually some sort of stability in society. We just need to go back to the core values in which we were kind of raised on and what we believe in. I think we've gotten to this place where nobody believes in anything anymore. Everyone believes in everything, and we say that's okay. Actually, that's not okay. We have to have some sort of shared core belief and core morals in society. Otherwise, like, what do you believe and who's in charge?
Yeah.
Where do you see, obviously you named a couple of things, but I was wondering, in your opinion, like, where do you see that we went wrong? Obviously we live in North Dakota. We're right on the border of Minnesota, which is obviously a blue state. So we get to see kind of both sides of everything that goes on in like the most aggressive ways, I guess. Obviously with like the George Floyd stuff that happened, the BLM stuff that was very, very bad for the community in this Minneapolis area. Terrible thing to happen. It was crazy they allowed it to continue to happen. Um, where do you think we kind of went wrong in society, or like, could you pinpoint maybe a 10-year span where we just really messed it up, and how we're going to get out of it, I guess?
I think technology was a big part of that. I think technology really messed with people's minds. I think people gave up their ability to think for themselves because we are so addicted to endorphin hits that we get from technology, and we don't even want to think for ourselves any longer. We want people to tell us how to think. We want people to make our decisions for us. We want people to tell us what should be popular, what's not popular. And we became so controllable in that way.
Yes.
We've given up critical thinking, logical thinking, thinking for ourselves. I think that's the biggest downfall of all of it. People just don't think for themselves any longer. And I think that's what we need to get back to. That's why I encourage people to challenge all agendas, challenge all narratives, challenge what you've been told. And if you believe something, you have to think, okay, why do I believe that so strongly? Because there are so many issues in life that we think we care about that we actually don't.
Mm.
You got to start breaking them down. Okay, there's an issue here that I get really mad about. Why am I so mad about it? Who told me to be so mad about this? Where have I been getting this information that I'm so mad? And did that person who told me to be mad, did they actually have my better interest in mind? Or were they just trying to sell you something? And I think most people, once you kind of really start breaking down the issues in life that you care about, you realize maybe if there's 50 things that you actually think you care about, maybe you really care about five. Why do you have to fight over everything? Why do you have to pretend to care about things that actually don't make a difference in your life? And why are we so concerned about what's going on in California when I live in Georgia, you guys live in Nebraska? Why don't you guys take care of your families and your environment first? Everyone's so worried about what's going on in other parts of the country, and no one cares about what's going on in their own neighborhoods and their own homes and around their own areas. We've All we want to do is chase what's popular on the internet. And the reality is, like, there's an entire world that actually matters right around you. And we're so worried about this huge world around us that doesn't matter. I think technology did that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would say like the sense of belonging to other people is what especially people in my generation cling to, is wanting to let people know that they belong with the crowd, I guess. And I see that a ton here, especially. So.
I think that it kind of
They
boils down.
they put labels on everyone,
Yep.
and they put everyone in these boxes. And if you don't fit into a label right away, all of a sudden you feel lost. You're like, well, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? The reality is, like, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Do what you want to do in life. Do what you want to pursue. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighbors. Take care of your friends. Take care of the people around you, and you'll find community. You don't have to try to force yourself to fit into a label that they've predetermined for you.
I have what I like to call my political testimony, which, in 2016, I was part of the crowd that I never was into politics. I'd been in business for, I don't know, just a couple years at that point. And so I came from California. I was born into a family of gang life and stuff like that, poverty, everything. So I never had this outside perspective that I got when I moved out of California and came to North Dakota for the first time. So during 2016, when everybody was preaching how racist Trump was and what a bad person he was, I started buying that. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was getting upset with my friends coming into my gym who knew I was a minority and were supporting Trump. And I did my research.
I was one of them, by the way, man.
Yeah, you were one of them, Cody. But it was like, for me, man, I had to have this epiphany, you know what I mean? Because, I didn't understand politics at the time. I didn't really care about them. But came 2020, I really started to feel how it was affecting me, with the COVID and the shutdowns. They closed my businesses. I mean, all this stuff really just kind of went crazy. And I wanted to argue with people about how wrong they were for supporting Trump. And in turn, doing some research, I found myself actually seeing the opposite. I was like, okay, that was a 10-second clip that they edited to make it look like he said X when he actually said Y. So I started to identify all these things. And I know you mentioned earlier how you like to look at both sides. And I'm really big on that now. Like I always think in terms of like debate. How could you argue something you know nothing about? So you have to look at both sides of the spectrum. Now it's like my life mission is to try and help people like me who otherwise don't care about politics, have never been in politics. And the only politics that affected us in our communities was Section 8 housing and welfare. You know what I mean? So it's like those kind of things aren't the bigger issues that we need to be focused on. And I do notice too now that, in the same breath, right now they're painting this whole the white man is bad thing in America, which is total crap. And coming from where I come from, you would typically think that, I would agree with that. But I see through that where all the people that I love and care about, they haven't quite caught that yet. They don't see what a trap that is and how they're using it against us right now. Because in my experience, the only people that tend to try to hold me back is my own people. You know what I mean? When you come from the Black and the Mexican culture, you get made fun of. Like people tell me I've lived in North Dakota for too long. They tell me I'm whitewashed or I'm an Uncle Tom and all this and that. It's just like, I grew up in the gang life though. My whole family, my dad, my mom were drug dealers and gangbangers. They, my whole family comes from a gang in LA. Like that was what my father figures were. So I had to have my own epiphanies. I had to get my own realization of what things look like. And so looking on both sides of the spectrum is a big thing for me. And it's kind of like my life mission now is just like help people understand, just do some research. You know what I mean? We talk about that on this show all the time. It's like, we'll talk about the things going on. And we always preface with, hey, go out and just research. Don't take our word for it. This is just our understanding of it. But you still have to look into both sides. Don't just watch CNN and Fox. And, you have to go to conspiracy theory pages, quote unquote, to find alternative information. And that's the problem is when you tell people something, they're like, where did you get that from? And you're like, well, this conspiracy site or this page. And there's like, yeah, that's crap. I don't want to hear it. You're wrong. And it's just like, no, that's the only place you can find anything that it opposes what they're talking about in mainstream media right now. So I think that's a huge one that people need to understand. And we need to find a way to get people to look at both sides of the spectrum right now and really get a better understanding or to be able to discern for themselves what's really going on in the world. So if you just look at one side and you listen to one narrative, that's where you end up with a lot of what unfortunately looks like the people on the left right now, which is they can't defend their arguments. They can't tell you why they believe what they believe or why they dislike somebody or why they're going to vote for X candidate right now because they're just following the trend. Their response is to scream and yell in your face obnoxiously with no actual response or educated, understanding of what's happening in society. So I think that's like one of the bigger problems that we're having with, getting people to see clearly is, like you said, the internet has taken control. In 2020, the COVID and all that stuff coming in, I think that was what really set it off too. I mean, we made technological advances in the last 4 years that were greater than we did in the last decade before that. So, I mean, it was insane how fast we went from everything being in your phone. You can call and get groceries. You can have it all delivered to your house. You can order all your food now. You can do everything remotely. You don't have to go anywhere, leave your house, do nothing. And that in turn, like you said, allows us to be completely controlled by the opposition.
I was watching a comedy podcast the other day, and this guy said, yeah, it seems like they're doing everything to keep us fat and lazy. Like, you can just get your food ordered to you. You can, he said something really inappropriate. He said, you can get a pill that makes your dick hard. Like, you can be fat as you want, and you'll be fine. Like, doesn't matter. You can just stay home. You don't have to leave your house. You can just stay comfortable always, and we'll take care of you from there. Like, and I was like, God, that is so true from a comedy podcast. But
go ahead.
People need to get outside, get active, do things, be physical, go work out, go hiking, go hunting. I mean, if you've noticed, people that are active in their lifestyle tend to skew much more conservative. And the people who sit at home and just stare at the computer all day long, they tend to be more liberal.
True.
It's a mind virus. And the longer you're plugged in, the more that you can be affected by it. The people who live out, that have lives outside of their computers and their phones, end up being more awake.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the life,
With the amount of knowledge and stuff you seem to have, do you spend quite a bit of time on social media and stuff like that where you're getting your information, or how are you kind of doing your research, and how much time does that take up of yours, like throughout the week, I guess, or day, I guess?
So usually if maybe at lunch or hanging out with some friends, or maybe a lot of people will start DMing me a topic, or I'll overhear people talking about it. And I'll be like, huh, that's a pretty interesting topic. I haven't heard that before. And then I'll pick a topic and then I'll go research. So I'll start reading what other news sources are saying. I'll start reading, I'll try to find maybe any government documents if I can find them, whatever the topic may be. I'll dig around and then I'll read as much as I possibly can. And then I'll start kind of thinking about what I'm doing. So I try to gather information, but that's typically how I find the idea of what I want to talk about. It's that it's just organic, whatever comes across my plate. So I remember last summer I did a video about Maui when the Maui fires happened.
Yeah.
And I was streaming. I was doing a IG live. And everyone in the comments was like, you gotta talk about Maui, you gotta talk about Maui, you gotta talk about Maui. I'm like, whatever. Like, it's a fire. I mean, not whatever, but I'm not thinking much about it. They said it was a fire. I saw it like news on my news thing come up. It's fire. Not thinking about it. Like, no, Matt, this is weird. You gotta look into this one. And so many people are like, look at Maui, look at Maui, look at Maui. I'm like, all right, let me look at Maui. And everyone's like, DEW, DEW. I'm like, what the hell is DEW?
John's all about that.
Like, what the hell is a DEW? I'm like, okay, now I'm interested. Maui direct energy weapon. I type it in Google. The first 5 links are these fact checks. Fact check, false. Maui was not created by a DEW. All these fact checks. And I just watched the press conference of them saying, we don't know what caused the fire. Okay. You don't know what caused the fire, but you know what it isn't? How can you say that it wasn't this if you just said you don't know what it was? That's not how logic works.
Right.
That's not how these things work. That's not how theories work. You can't discount a theory when you say you don't know what the actual cause was. So I made a video just about that how come everyone's saying Maui, 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 direct energy weapon, and they say it's a fact check when they don't even know what it is? And that was my video. It's just because these people were like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I started looking.
Yeah. Episode 2 or 3 weeks ago that we did, we were talking about the assassination attempt, and they had said the guy didn't have much social media and we can't get into his phone. we were just like, okay, how do you know he doesn't have much social media if he can't get into his phone? That doesn't really add up. So we brought that to the attention pretty much right away. John was was adamant
Just
about
doesn't
bringing
add
that
up.
up.
Yeah.
And that's such bullshit because I have a friend who literally works for a technology company, a cybersecurity company that sells software and devices to the US government so that they can get into any phone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's no phone they can't get into. They
Yeah.
all have this machine sitting in every police station, every FBI office, every government office. They have these machines that all you gotta do is plug it in and it scrambles and it gets the code and it can open up any phone. They all have it. How do I know? Because this guy, good friend of mine, literally sells them to the government. And I was like, dude, they say they can get on the phone. They're like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course they can get on the phone. I can get in any phone. How are they gonna say they can't get in the phone? And everyone's like, yeah, like they can't get in the phone, so we'll never know. It's like, no,
But they can track Joe Schmo in the crowd at January 6th and then track him all the way across country because of his face, right? Yeah, okay.
You know,
yeah,
it
that's exactly right. They can track all the J6 people and they know exactly who they talk to, what they talk about, all their history. They have their bank information, they have their text message log, they have their social media, they have literally everything about every single person's life. And there were 1 million people that day.
Yep.
They could find out the information and crack into the phones without even getting the phones of 1 million people.
Yeah.
But one person, this guy's the most tech advanced person ever.
And he's 20 years old, yeah.
And he's using encrypted messaging, which is like, okay, he's using Telegram. He's using an app of some sort that's encrypting the messages. Go to the app and figure out how to get that information. He's on the list of everybody. Everybody knows him. Go ahead and just ask that company for his information. I'm sure they'll give it to you. Like, I don't get it. Doesn't really make sense at all. So
They don't even need to. They can get into any phone they want. They
yeah,
even got into, I remember Tucker Carlson. He said that they got into his
That's right.
Signal account.
Yep.
yep,
Signal's supposed to be the most secure. They got into his Signal account. And
encrypted.
that's how they found out that he was getting interviewed Putin. If they can get into his account and they never had his phone,
Mhm.
dude, they can't get into the shooter's phone. Come on. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because I'm really convinced that like the FBI and even the developments with this whole Secret Service um, um, at Congress trial that's going on, they they do things like this, but they do it in the opposite direction too. Like I know they just came out maybe a couple days ago saying that they did in fact get into his phone and find him on some social media accounts. This the alleged shooter, and that he was on Gab apparently, and he had like all these like basically they try to paint him to be like a Trump supporter and not an anti-Trump guy and try to throw everyone off. And I believe it was the CEO of Gab who came forward, and he clearly is a guy who's just like enough's enough because he was like that's all bullshit. He was not on this platform. He was not doing those things. Like the owner, the CEO of the company called them out, and I mean who knows better than that guy? But it's like how did someone like the FBI or Secret Service miss that thought process? Like, hey, if we do this, these people can prove us wrong if they really wanted to. You know what I mean? So it's like they're. I think, like you said earlier, to the point of like I think they're scrambling right now, and I really believe that the failed assassination of Trump really sent them running in all kinds of different directions because that wasn't supposed to be the way it went. They were supposed to wake up Monday, Trump be gone, and their game plan was going to go into effect.
I'm curious. I'm curious, Matt. I'm not sure if you heard the most recent developments, but I think I've heard it today, where they said that they cut the Secret Service agents that are supposed to go to the area ahead of time to survey it and see any of the areas that are most likely dangerous areas. I guess that they weren't there, or wherever they weren't there. So, there's more information that's coming out every day, but I'm generally curious about your opinion about everything that's transpired about this whole thing because um, more and more stuff keeps coming out. It just keeps getting stranger and stranger, and I just I feel like it's just too blatantly obvious at this point. But what do you think?
well, I definitely think it was an inside job. I think I've been around Team Trump, and he has not only his private security, but he has his assigned Secret Service. So he has, I think, 8 or 9 guys, Secret Service, that are around him all the time. Those are his guys that travel with him everywhere. And then he has his private security that travels with him everywhere. So he has A squad, his A plus squad. These guys, you don't mess with these guys, right? They are serious people. I remember one time I was around them and I said, "Hey, we want to get a drone and get a drone shot of the motorcade leaving." And they're like, "No way. You can put it up there. They're going to shoot it down in a second. There's no way you can do that without clearance. And you would need at least 24 hours in order to get that approved. It's impossible. You can try, but you will lose your drone 100%. They don't
Wow.
mess around. They know exactly what's going on. So how that can happen, I don't know. It just these people look at an opportunity and they're like, okay, the A team is not there today. They're taking a break. Let's hurry up. Let's figure it out because we have a window of opportunity right now. And they get sloppy. I don't think this is something they've planned for over a really long period of time. Because if it was a really well thought out plan, it wouldn't be as sloppy as it is. All this footage popping up, this kid's head popping up while Trump is speaking, this
Yes.
random water tower that's behind all these different angles of cameras. It's sloppy. You don't operate like that if it was something that was well thought out and planned over a long period of time. They saw an opportunity.
Including yeah,
Yeah, they saw an opportunity that his A team all of a sudden is not going to be there for whatever reason. And I'm sure they're regretting that. I know he's doubled up and tripled up on security now, but they saw an opportunity and they scrambled. And again, it goes back to the point of they're just getting really sloppy. They there was not the time to do it because the whole world's watching. You take a shot, you gotta make it. Otherwise, like, dude, what are you guys doing? It's so ridiculous.
So do you think that the A team not being there was by design? And do you think that the director, Kim Cheadle, uh, whatever, if this was a way above her?
No, I think the A team not being there, I think Team Trump, they just, they probably just gave him a little time off. The rallies have been going pretty good. There haven't been any issues. And I think whoever orchestrated the attack, they just saw an opening. They
Yeah, I
probably
guess
didn't know the A team until maybe a day before, you know?
I was more or less talking about I was more or less talking about the Secret Service agents that, obviously the guys that tackled them, good job on them. But we've all seen the videos of the other ones too. So I don't know. It just seems, all of it seems just so suspect to me.
Yeah, it's too many loose ends for this to be a well thought out, executed plan. You know, like if you and I, not FBI, if you're listening, we're not saying we're going to, but if we were to organize something, it'd be better organized than this.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
We take more caution, that's for sure.
We're just theoretically talking, just
Yeah.
for the sake of conversation, but it would be better organized. It was not well organized. So I don't know. When I see so many mistakes being made at such a high profile thing, you gotta think that there's just they were just really opportunistic, and it was just it's sloppy. Sloppy is the only word I can think of.
So do you think that as far as the shooter himself, I'm going to throw a conspiracy. MK Ultra, is that a possibility?
I think MK Ultra is always a possibility. I think that's a definite real thing. Um, a lot of people, that know that the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski was a MK Ultra product,
Yep.
and if you've read his manifesto, he's actually not that crazy, which is weird too.
Yep. Yep.
Because if you read it, you're like, damn, he was right about a lot of things. So it's like, okay, why are they picking the people that they use? And I definitely think that MK Ultra is a thing. So I wouldn't put it behind it. We just don't have the evidence. I don't think we'll actually know exactly what happened for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. This is something that's going to drag on forever. And the
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists will probably get it right, but everyone will call them crazy. And then
Yep.
they'll change because they think they're wrong. And then they'll come back to it and then they'll circle back and forth, kind of like the whole JFK thing. And maybe in the next future generations, they're like, oh, damn, we were right about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like we cut out for a second there.
Yeah, we're good.
Can you hear us, Matt?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. We lost you for like a half a second there, I think, but we're back.
Yeah. What do you think about, well, speaking of JFK, I I know Trump was talking about releasing the JFK files for a long time, and then it sounds like he was going to, but then all of a sudden it was just like boom. Do you think that whatever or whoever was involved was, I don't know, too was too damning to release? Because his what is it, his Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was the former head of CIA, I believe. So what do you think about that?
I don't think we'll ever find out. I
Probably
think
not.
we all have our inklings of what that came from. I think it's all connected, and I think there are some truths that the government just will not let us know.
Yeah.
We have a common debate here, and we used to ask it a lot. Is do you believe in aliens? That's it. That's the question, I guess. I don't know why I said
I haven't seen aliens. I haven't met any. Um, I'd be interested to. I think they could exist. I don't. I think they could definitely exist. But as far as do they exist, I have no idea. I don't. It's not something that I've thought too much about. I think it's one of those things where you kind of enjoy thinking about it, and it's a lot of fun to think about.
That's how I got into Sean Ryan, is when he had Dr. Greer on his show, and I was like head deep into the alien podcast after that, because it was during that whole time period where people were talking about aliens, and then I don't know, the government probably pulled a fast one during that period, but now we don't really hear about them anymore, so it's kind of interesting.
I think people's kind of curiosity with aliens, especially aliens and other beings and supernatural forces, I think it just shows, especially showing that it's so popular right now. I think it just shows that society is looking for greater purpose,
Yeah.
that we're looking for something bigger in life. And I think that's really what it's indicative of. If they exist or not, I don't know. But I do know that we as society are looking for. We're hoping that it's true because we want to know that there's something bigger in our lives than just what it is.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of that leads people to start thinking about their faith, thinking about God. I think that's something that's naturally happening as a result. I think that's a positive thing. But I think that's really what that is. People just want to feel like we're just not a lump of cells living on Earth, that there is something bigger in the world than just us. And I think aliens and thinking about supernatural force is a good like stepping stone. But the more and more you go into it, I've seen a lot of those people go, huh, I want to start reading the Bible more.
Yeah.
It's such a weird jump, but it's such a logical jump.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. We just want to feel like we're important.
So let me ask you, if let's say for good or worse, there is an experience that we undoubtedly there's an experience that happens on planet Earth, right? Do you think that that would be the only way for us as a society to come back together to be one unified people again? Because after 9/11, I was old enough. I was in seventh grade, obviously, during 9/11. I still remember that day very vividly. That's one of the reasons why I joined the military. Um, After that, everybody was on one page, at least for a short period of time. Everybody was. We were one people. So, do you think that like it would have to be that to that magnitude for us to come back together?
I think we are kind of going that direction as we speak. I think the country is going through kind of a spiritual and religious revival. If you've looked online recently, a lot more people are talking about their faith than ever before. It
Right.
was not a thing that people talked about on in interviews, in conversation, within the homes, but a lot of people are. I think every 50 or 60 years that this country goes through a revival. So about 50, every 50, 60 years, it gets so bad. I think there are three steps to revival. So first is intellectual. People need to start noticing that something's wrong with society, something's wrong in this world. And on a cerebral level, they have to kind of notice that, think it. The second stage is that emotional. People have to start getting mad about it or sad about it. Something's wrong and emotionally react to it. And the third, which we're there, the third is will. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to act? And once you realize that that the society is broken, the people in charge are broken. I'm really upset about it and I want to change it. People actually start turning to greater purpose. And I think that's really what the driving force is. I think all these signs point to the fact that society will heal and society will get back together when people realize that politicians aren't going to improve our lives. The leaders of society, they're not going to make it better. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter what event takes place. Unless we as a society are able to heal, unless we as a society are able to find moral center again, which we've lost, I think things are broken. And I think people are starting to realize that it's not all about internet. It's not all about clicks and views. It's not about getting as drunk as possible all the damn time, although it is fun. I think people are realizing that I kind of want to have purpose in life again. For the last 20 years and 30 years, we've lost purpose. And I think that's what 9/11 was. It gave people a sense of purpose. But the reality is that our purpose we thought was government. I'm going to join the military. I'm going to support this. I'm going to think that these wars are going to make things better. And what we found out is that's just adamantly not true. No president has ever come along and said, I'm going to make it better, and actually makes it that much better. They make it incrementally better depending on who it is. And maybe sometimes they slow down the degradation of society, but they don't actively make things better. Only society can actively make things better. That's what I believe. And I think we're at that place where people are just fed up and people are willing to make sacrifices to improve society around them. And it's not something that we're forced to do. We just do it because we feel like it's the right thing to do. How many people are out there? Say 10 years ago, you said, hey, we'll give you a job. We're going to pay you less, but you're going to believe in what you do. Everyone's like, no, I want to work for more money. Now, like, hey, here's a job. It pays 30% less. I know times are tough. You're still going to make less money, but you're actually going to believe in what you're doing. 9 out of 10 people will take that job. People are looking for purpose. And as I think once we realize that purpose is not found in leaders and humans above us, but really in taking care of the people around us, I think we can come together again.
Do you think that, and I know you mentioned it on your page, but when you talk about revival, do you think that that whole thing with the Olympics is an attempt to divide people further or get more people to watch? Well, talking about revival, do you think that the thing with the Olympics was meant to divide us further or get more people to watch the Olympics?
Well, I think for the Olympics, it's always been the Olympics has always been a pagan celebration to false gods. That's the Olympics always been, right? And we accept it as it is because it's sports and it's competition, and they tricked us into thinking that's what it was. But really, it's a celebration for like false gods. Fine, it is what it is. I think the fact that people are noticing, the fact that people are aware of that people are getting upset about that, I think it's been a combination of so many different things. First, Trump gets shot, and everyone goes, God save Trump.
Mm.
All of a sudden, everyone's talking about God in their households. We weren't doing that 6 months ago.
Sure.
And the Olympics comes around, and we see this crazy demonic celebration and opening ceremony. We're like, what the hell is going on? All of a sudden, everyone's talking about God and good versus evil again. I think that's a great thing. I think as long as we can accept that's what's going on in the world, because I truly believe that we're in a war of good versus evil.
Yes.
If we can accept that we're trying to be on the side of good and that there are people on the side of evil, and that's what the war is, and it's not against each other based on party affiliation or what it is. It's that it's the God versus godless. It's the people that want society and take care of their people versus they just want to survive and take care of themselves. I think there's a movement of people that are growing. And I take that all as a positive. We weren't having these conversations before.
That's true.
I mean, how often were you guys having these types of conversations?
Never.
Yeah, never. It's part of why we do the podcast now, because we just started talking about it. I think just like everybody else in society. So to the point of the Olympics too, I'm curious, man. What is your take on the recent push for, transgenders and children, and the hard press on homosexuality and all the DEIs being in government and stuff? because they're just trying to gaslight that side of society. Like, what's your take on why that's happening and what it's supposed to mean to us?
I mean, the other side really just wants the degradation of society. They want to remove family values. They want to remove gender. They want to remove individuality. They want to remove community. And they want everyone to be just one blob. Because if you can categorize everyone as one blob, it's easy to control.
Yeah,
They want people to be in their lane, not go out of the lane. They want everyone to be the same so that there's no country, there's no world, there's no religion, that there is one religion and that religion is government and world government. That's what they want. I think that's what we're really fighting up against.
yeah, I agree. It's bad right now, and I agree too. We're looking at a battle of good versus evil without a doubt, and it's weird to me too because it seems like with the Olympics on display and everyone talking about the attack on Christianity, you kind of identify Christianity is really the only religion that they do mock and come after on a regular basis on any front, but on the left a lot for some reason. I mean, they don't touch, Islam, they don't touch Buddhist, they don't touch anything else, any other belief system out there. It's always Christianity that they're attacking, but then they try to play it off like, no, we're not doing nothing. Why are you on the offensive? There's nothing happening here, but it's the only one that they attack. It's the only one that they seem to mock. So that's another thing I think about all the time and what's going on today. It's strange.
I think they attack the religion that they truly believe is a real threat.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
You talk about, we've talked about it multiple times, is the revival and how we're gonna make this shift, and I agree with you fully. But I guess my main question is how will we see this through? Obviously, more and more people will talk about it, but is it going to just be a slow, gradual, like nice shift into being good again, or are we going to go through something like a civil war, which is something people have been bringing up? Like, obviously, with the election coming up, so many people that are so against Trump, and then so many people that are so for Trump or so against the other side, I guess you can say, or Kamala Harris, which is, it's not, they're not against her, they're against the machine that runs her. But uh, do you see what? How are we going to get to that point where we get past that and move on and create a better society, or is it going to be slow and gradual, or are we going to have a big event like Cody had said?
Well, I think if there is a civil war, it will not come from the populace. It's not going to come from the people. If there is a civil war, it's something that's going to be created and pushed down to us, not us create and push up. I think most people, even though they're mad at their neighbor because they believe in something else, I don't think neighbors want to fight each other. Families don't want to fight each other. That was division, even during COVID. That was division sowed by the establishment. Hey, turn in your neighbor if they're not wearing their mask. Turn in their neighbor if they're having a barbecue when you're supposed to be in lockdown.
yeah,
People don't want to do that. And we kind of fell for it. A lot of people did. And I think we've kind of aware to it. I think if there is a big event, it'll be a manufactured event. And I think in that case, it's more important that people like you, people like me, people like us who are thinking this way, that we need to stick together and we need to encourage people to keep their level head because, again, it's not going to be our side that's creating a civil war. It's not going to be our side creating a massive event. It's always them. It's always them.
So with the upcoming election, and I'm sure you're aware of all of the Google searches that you try to type in Donald Trump and you get Donald Reagan, or you get news articles of Kamala Harris. So we're starting to get the massive censorship again. Um, how do we fight against such a big machine like that?
Well, it's tough. It's tough. I wonder about the whole Google thing and the search results, to be honest. I worry about it because we know the left, they're kind of better at technology. Maybe they just took all the keywords, maybe they took all the SEO, maybe they're just better at that
Yeah,
and they just overtook it. You got to kind of consider that also. Maybe the right word didn't thought that if we just out there that Google will automatically put it up, and the left's like, no, we're gonna be proactive. We're gonna steal your website name. We're gonna steal your keywords. We're gonna steal your SEO. We're gonna steal the first hop. And be like, damn, that's a really good idea,
yeah,
yeah. It is.
yeah.
right?
It's a good way to see it.
Yeah, if you're in business and you are, remember the yellow book we used to have in the phone directory?
Mhm.
How many businesses used to change their name to A1 Towing so that they should pop up first in the yellow books or then the A's,
Yep.
right? It's genius. It's the smartest thing to do. You don't want to be Z1 Towing because you're last in the alphabetical list. So I think there's a little gamesmanship there. I think we need to consider that. I don't know that for sure. But when I see that, that's what I think. Like, damn, did they really like out technology this side? Because that's a possibility. And no one wants to consider that. Maybe the left is just better at technology and they're better at SEO and they're better at website management. And they just outmaneuvered us in a very obvious way that no one wants to think about. Like, oh no, they stole it. And Google censoring. But maybe, maybe, or maybe they're just really good at that.
That's a good point. We're always so quick to be like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg and Google and all these people are complicit and they're involved. When the reality of it is, man, the Democrat, and it's not illegal to do what they're doing on the left if that's what they were doing, to just be playing a better hand than the rest of us.
The Democratic Party is a well-oiled machine. They understand technology, they understand social media, they understand a lot of these things that we think we understand, but I mean, let's be real, they're better at it. They've always been better at that. And we think because we have momentum now and that it feels like we're winning now, that we're naturally better at it, but it's not true. I think we discredit that side sometimes.
Yeah.
They're really good at technology. They're really good at the internet.
Do you think they're just playing as dumb as they look right now? With like the Biden and the Kamala Harris. Like, do you think that's just a big act right now, or are they really just coming off that bad?
No, I think Biden and Kamala are really idiots. But but the machine behind them is not.
Yeah.
They're
So
a
do you?
well-known machine. They don't infight. They have a process down, and they work top down. So they have an agenda, and everyone falls in line. The right, we love to infight.
Yeah.
We love to fight with one another. We're always scrambling. I don't know why we're removing congressmen before an election, why we're always removing Speaker of the House, why we can't vote party line on things that are important, why we always have congressmen that end up voting with the Democrats. Like our side is actually pretty incompetent so much of the time, and it's really frustrating
Yes.
because I want to be like, that's my side, but I'm like, oh, bro, but they're damn incompetent so much,
For sure.
you know?
Yeah, it's bad.
And then the left, they come up with this crazy idea and it sounds so ridiculous, but they all vote and they all come out together and they all say the same exact thing. And it seems so disingenuous, but it's really effective.
Here's my question. Um, do you think that the Democrat machine, they knew how bad Biden was getting, so they scheduled the debate that early, but Jill Biden also knew how bad Joe Biden was. She obviously knew that, right? So why would she allow that to go along when clearly she was mega pissed off when they put the hammer down and decided to boot him off? Why would she allow that? Unless Joe was like coherent enough to say, "No, this is what I'm going to do." Why do you think that went along?
I I think that they've been planning this forever. I think that was always a plan. I think they just needed to prop him up because they didn't want to go through a primary season in order to give other challengers a chance. They didn't want to spend their money. Actually, they wanted to save all their resources. They knew Trump was going to be in. They want to save all their money. They have a huge war chest. And then with just 2 months ago, they're going to drop it on everyone. And everywhere you look, it's going to be like Kamala this or Gavin Newsom this or whoever they end up going with. And they're just going to flood everyone's eyes. It's going to be a mass psychosis event, just like COVID, where you're going to see it over and over and over and over again. They've barely started spending their money.
It's crazy because all I see is Kamala ads.
They're going to go balls to the wall come August 15th when they finally decide who their candidate is.
Do you think they're going to stick with? Do you think they're going to stick with Kamala, or do you think they're going to make a switch?
If I was a Democratic Party, I would go with Gavin.
Say that again for the audience here. Listen to him. Say that again.
If I was a Democratic Party, I would go with Gavin because I think Gavin can actually win.
Dude.
Really? You don't think his reputation with what he's done in California and everything like that, you don't think that has any
No,
effect on it?
he's been number one. He was on Sean Hannity last year, and they didn't interview with him, so they've been prepping him. He gave the rebuttal or the first speech after the first Republican primary debate, so they gave him credibility. He recently let all the homeless encampments and told all the cleaned up the homeless encampments. So now people think he's competent.
Yep.
He speaks really well. He was at the debate. He does speeches. And if you are the propaganda media machine, this is your golden boy dream situation
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry about covering for Kamala. You don't have to worry about covering for Biden. This guy can do all your events. This guy can do all your interviews. This guy can do your press tour. He can do rallies. You can put him on the front page of everything 24/7. And people actually start liking him because he's good looking and he's well spoken.
Yeah.
And people are very easily skewed and people are very easily convinced. So I think they will go into a full mass psychosis situation where they just flood you with him. And the people that were the people that were going to vote against Trump, we're going to vote against him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some Democrats that are like, I can't vote for Biden. This is ridiculous. I have no choice. I have to vote for Trump. I can't vote for Kamala. She's so unlikable. I can't stand her cackle. It really hurts me to my soul. I'm going to vote for Trump. All of a sudden, those people that are skewing Trump because of their own hatred for the Democratic nominees, they're actually back in play again.
Yeah.
So if I were the Democratic Party, that's who I would run. I think he can win. And I think that's someone that we should all be scared of because he's even more liberal and more controlled than Biden was.
Yeah.
I
He has a lot of that not give a fuck in him. He's really good at staring people straight in the face after doing something completely corrupt and not caring a damn bit.
He looks you right in
They
the
think.
eye, gives you one truth, and then right behind it, he hides 99 lies.
Yeah.
And he's the best at that. I would argue that as far as politician is concerned, not his policy because the guy is the worst. But as far as pure politician is concerned, he may be the best in the country.
That's
And you don't want to go up against that.
So
But
you
if I
don't
was the other
you don't
side, exactly who I'd want.
you don't think there's any chance that Michelle Obama comes in?
I really don't think the Democratic Party wants to deal with 2 full months of Big Mike eggplant memes.
Yeah, I could see that. We say that we talk about this a lot on the show. We have this, yeah, we have a bet going about this here where Cody has said that he believes it's going to be Gavin Newsom. I believe it's going to be Kamala. Dion's already lost because he was going for RFK.
You said Michelle.
Or Michelle, not Kamala. And so to the point of the memes that you said, I think that would be a really good play for them right now with the way they've normalized and warmed us up to all this transgenderism and all that stuff. If it was true about Michelle, that would be gold for them, and I think they could come in and sweep it real easily. But they would have to come out of the closet on that one.
I don't think so. She has such a cush, awesome life right now. She's like super rich, stupid rich. She travels all over. She's like kind of popular. She can do whatever she wants. Um, like why would she give that back to run for presidency in maybe the most heated, disgusting, aggressive presidential race? Like, why would you want that? I don't think she does. I don't think she's actually that motivated of a person. I think you want someone that really wants to make their name.
Yeah.
And Kamala, I can see that because that's just who she is. That's how she got to where she is. And Gavin, that makes sense too because he has something to prove and he's the ultimate company man. So I think those two make sense. I don't think it could be anyone else out of those two because you need someone that has national name recognition. It's not enough time to introduce a new player into the mix because no one's gonna know who they are. If you went to like Gretchen Whitmore or Josh Shapiro or something like this, people are like, dude, most of the country doesn't know who they are.
Right.
They don't have enough name recognition. So I think it has to be someone that they know. It's got to be Kamala or Gavin. I would put my money on Gavin.
See, my problem with that is like, so me and my wife talk about equity a lot. She's a teacher. Her school is huge on equity, and everybody should have the tools in order to make them equal to the other students. And every time she tells me that somebody's telling her that, I say that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There's nothing, you can't give equity to anybody because, and she yesterday brought up glasses. If I can't see and I get glasses, that's equity. And I said, not really, because what if you forget your glasses? What happens then? I can still see better than you. I'll always be able to see better than you, and you're not going to be able to do anything to change that.
It's manufactured equity.
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything. But that's the thing I would say is, like, whenever Gavin Newsom steps on stage, Trump could just be like, took you 10 years to get rid of the homeless and you only did it because the Chinese president
Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
came over, and that was the only time you were able to clean up the homelessness. Where did you send them all? Where are they? Where'd they go?
Yep.
And then all of the democratic beliefs, which is equity, I would put my money on to say is like, you're just being hypocritical then at that point. You want to protect people and
That's just way too much logic for a presidential election.
Hold on, Matt. Did you watch the debate with Newsom and DeSantis though? Like, DeSantis absolutely demolished him.
I don't think so.
You didn't think so?
I thought he did better. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I don't. Well, first of all, Newsom should not have even been on that stage.
Correct.
And by putting him on that stage with the presidential candidate, it actually gives him credibility. I think it was a huge mistake to have him on that stage, because before that, everyone thought he was just the kind of this radical failing California governor.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, Ron DeSantis, who actually people really like,
Yeah.
like not enough to beat Trump, but people really liked Ron DeSantis.
Mhm.
And to put Gavin Newsom on the same stage with him when he's not even a candidate actually makes Gavin Newsom really legitimate in a lot of people's eyes. So I think putting him on stage for that debate was a really bad mistake. And if anything, what people will remember from that debate, not that he lied, that he's really well spoken.
Mm.
And in your mind, when you say, I'm going to draw a caricature of a politician, he's like exactly who you draw. It's exactly what you expect a
Yeah.
stereotypical politician to be. Look a little skeevy, hair slicked back, and talks real fast. That's exactly what you think it is, and he plays that part so well. And I think it was a huge mistake to give him so many eyes. I think that was a really big mistake, and I fight with the idea of whether or not that was intentional.
Mm.
They had to have known that you can't put him up on stage. You can't legitimize him. The whole narrative for the entire year should be like, California sucks, this guy's ruining it. California sucks, this guy's ruining it.
Yep.
That should have been 24/7. But for some reason, Sean Hannity, who apparently I hate, has him on Fox News all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting. Don't you think though it's a little too late to do another switcheroo?
I think what they'll do, and I don't know for sure, this is my guessing. I think what they'll do is they'll go into the Democratic National Convention and they'll say, okay, people are going to be mad because, oh, we didn't actually get the vote. No one voted for Kamala. How can she automatically win? That's not fair. That's not right. And they'll say, oh, okay, fine. We're listening to you guys. We're the Democratic Party. We have to have a democratic process. So what we'll do is we'll let the delegates vote. And we can't just let Kamala be the only one up there. So why don't we put up Kamala? Why don't we put up Gretchen Whitmore? And why don't we put up Gavin? Because you have to have competition. And the girls will cannibalize themselves in their votes. They'll cancel each other out. And Gavin, out of nowhere, will have 40%. And Gavin, being the company man that he is, because he always says the right thing, like, oh, fine. If you guys really want me and the people have spoken, I will take the challenge. And
I'd be
I will
so
go.
mad. I'd be so mad.
Were you mad that it was him or mad that I won?
Mad that it's him.
Oh, okay. That's
It's
interesting.
possible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, or they just roll with Kamala. But I don't think Kamala wins. And if they know that, I think right now they're just testing it and seeing it. And I think they have to put their support behind her, because they can't be like, oh, we just pushed her aside and we just gave it to Gavin. Everyone's like, how are you going to overlook the black woman that's vice president? They have to pretend like they're giving her everything. It's an optics play. You have to make it look like we tried our best with Kamala, but the people have spoken and the people chose Gavin. and we can't do anything about it because we're the party of democracy. We're the party of caring about what the people say, and because of that, we will do what the people want us to do. They can't say that if they just choose Kamala right off bat. They can't do that if they just choose Gavin right off bat.
That's a great
They
idea.
have to at least pretend like they actually care about Kamala. But let's be real, she's so unlikable.
Yeah.
So what do you think? It like you said about Trump, he's kind of just the placeholder, and 2028 is really where it's at. If not Trump and the Democrats win, where do you see the United States going from there? What do you think happens? What's their end game?
I'm sorry, you break it up again.
My apologies. So what do you think would be the end game if the Democrats win, they get their presidency, and they spend the next 4 years doing what to America?
I think they just keep on going the way they are. I mean, we've all heard of the UN Agenda 2030. It's a
Right.
2030 agenda, not a 2024 agenda. It's not a 2026 or 2028 agenda. There's a long-term plan that's involved. They've kind of wrote it out on what they want to do. And I think we need to keep that in mind. The hardest thing about Americans is that we only think in presidential cycles. We think in 4 years at a time.
Right.
But the masterminds of the world, they think in 10 years or 15 years and 20 years. But we don't think that far ahead. There is a plan. They want everyone to be the same. They want there to be no country borders. They want all the world to be one. They want there to be one currency. They want everything to be surveilled. And probably realistically, let's be honest, they want to plug chips into our brains and control us, right?
Yep.
It sounds so crazy, but it's a reality. And I think we need to fight that, is that we want our individual autonomy. We want to be able to think for ourselves. We want our freedom of speech. We want to be able to go and travel wherever we want. Think about 9/11. They control everywhere we go. They know where we're going. We have to get approval to leave our state, to get on an airplane. Why the hell do I need to get approval? Why do I have to go through a security check if I want to get on a plane and go somewhere else? That's so ridiculous if you really think about it.
Yeah.
That I need to get security check and apply and tell them where I'm going to go somewhere.
Mhm. Wow.
It's just all incremental things they do over time. And we don't realize it because it's a big frog boil. They just take away your rights one at a time, slowly, 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 slowly.
Yeah.
And before you know it, we're left with nothing. I think that's really the pushback. We need to wake up, free people's minds of the control that they have. And I think that's why I do what I do. Because if not, I really truly believe, and I said this in a Sean Bryan interview, I truly believe that in my daughter's lifetime, my daughter's 2 years old, I truly believe that in her lifetime, she will be faced with a conscious choice of, do you want to be plugged in and become one with technology, or do you want to live free and have and have more freedom, but have less luxury and conveniences in life?
Yep.
Wow.
That will be a conscious choice that our next generation will actually have to make. And I'm going to die on the side of the resistance. I don't care. I want my daughter to join me. I'm hoping that she'll join me, even knowing that life may be harder on that side. But I'd rather die free.
Oh, I love that.
So with a lot of the stuff that we've talked about and a lot of stuff that you cover, and I know that during the COVID era, I mean, COVID was the biggest detrimental thing that happened to our society in the last, I don't know how many years, a lot. But like I said, I'm a recruiter for the Guard, so I see this firsthand. A lot of these young kids are now riddled with anxiety, depression. They're heavily medicated. Every single one of them, like I would say nine out of the 10 kids that I talk to every day is on some sort of medication. And me being a recruiter, I am there to do my job, but at the same time, I am trying to build more, like you said, more masculine men, right? So whenever I get the opportunity to speak, I take that opportunity and I tell them that's exactly what we need in society now. You know, like I said, I'm there to pitch the Guard, but I'm also there to try to and help these kids and to build, these young men to become contributing members of society, because I tell them straight up, is like, guys, you are going to be carrying the torch. Like my generation, all of us are getting out. We're retiring. We're just getting out. And it's these guys that are going to be stepping up into society, and they're going to be the next ones up, right? But with everything that's been going on, what do you do? Like me, for me personally, obviously I work out all the time. I have to. Um, I've never needed medication. Like they tried to put me on medication when I was a sophomore in high school. I was on it for like, I don't know, 6 months or something. I don't know why they put me on it, but I've never needed medication because I've always had an outlet with the gym. Like that was my outlet. So what do you do to try to keep yourself on the level to not just like lose your mind and be anxious? And obviously I don't know you, so that could be a possibility, but what do you do to keep yourself leveled out?
Well, I used to have different hobbies, but these days, any free time I have, I'm hanging out with my daughter. My daughter's 2. I feel like I can teach her so much. I love hanging out with her. And I consciously spend 3 to 4 hours every day with her. It is not just like in the same room, but like attentive time with my daughter. So I'll take her, we'll go eat dinner, we'll go eat lunch, or we'll go walk, or I may carry her 2 miles because she don't want to walk anymore. Whatever it is, that's what I do. Any free time I have, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, or 3 hours, I'm spending time with family. And I think that's not something that I would have done maybe 4 years ago. My daughter's only 2. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said, no, like I have free time. I'm going to go play golf, or I'm going to go to the gym, or I'll go to the bar and hang out with my friends, or I'm going to whatever. Now, as soon as I have an opening, I'm going home. I'm spending time with my daughter. That's all I want to do. And I think that really helps me keep focused, keep grounded. It's funny when you see little children learn new things and they go,
Yeah.
wow,
Yep.
over the stupidest little things.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's really cute. And I think that really helps you keep grounded in purpose. Like I know what I'm doing. I want a better society for her. And spending the maximum amount of time with her really helps that kind of clear my mind. So I don't do anything anymore. All I do is hang out with my kid. And I wouldn't have it any other way. There's actually nothing that you can convince me that I'd rather do. So even when I sometimes travel to do interviews, I try to go leave and come back the same day if I can, because I want to be there in the morning when she wakes up. And if I had my daughter when I was 20 or 22, I don't think I'd live that way, you know,
For sure.
because there's so many other things going on. I'll run into parents and they'll say, "Oh, finally, like we're gonna have date night and we're gonna go out and we got someone to watch the kid." I'm like, no, like I want to be with my kid. If I can't bring my kid, I don't want to go. I'd rather be there. I think it's a mindset. It's not the easiest to hang out with your kid all the damn time.
Yeah.
We don't do technology at home. My kid doesn't watch TV at all. There's no device for her. Zero. The only time she'll look at a phone is if she's FaceTiming grandma, or if we take pictures and videos throughout the day. I'll let her scroll through the pictures and videos to like recap what we did. So if we go to the zoo or the safari and she wants to see the giraffe that we saw during the daytime, then I'll let her look at videos of the giraffe. That's it. Other than that, she gets no technology, and we'll read 15, 20 books every single day. And she's 2. She doesn't understand what I'm saying. But when she wakes up in the morning, as soon as she gets up, she comes running to me and she has a book in her hand because she wants to read a book.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat right now. My son's going to be 2 next month, so I'm going I'm literally seeing changes every day, and I'm like shocked. Like I'm so dumbfounded about how fast they pick things up, and it's one of the coolest things that I think that a father can see is their child learning new skills or learning new words. And I'm just like, oh man, that is so cool. And you're right. It's like you come home if you come home with an empty heart or if you had a bad day, it is immediately fulfilled after you get them into your arms and you give them a hug, and everything just comes back full circle.
Yeah. And sometimes you come home and you have a really bad day, and it doesn't seem, there are those times where you come home and you had a bad day and they're being a 2-year old,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yelling and screaming and doing
Yep.
whatever it is that they do, being difficult. And then I remind myself, like, my day might have been tough, but they don't know that. They're
Yeah.
2. They've been waiting for me to come home all day long. I'm not gonna avoid her. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, do this," or I'm tired, so like go play with your toys by yourself because I can't deal with you. Like they don't understand that,
Yeah.
and you can't explain it. So no matter what, when I'm around, I give her my all. 100% of the time. I feel like I have to, because there's no, if we're really going to change society, if we're going to try to create a better society for our children, it's sacrifice, you know? And it doesn't bother me one bit. Is it tough sometimes? Yeah. Trying to raise your kid without a device is ridiculously difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we'll go out to dinner and only between me and my wife, only one of us eats because the other one has to like figure out
Yep.
how to entertain them or be with them or talk to them or take them outside if they're causing a fit, whatever reason it is. Sometimes only one of us eats. It's all right though.
See, I have older kids, and I remember when my kids were coming up, phones and all that stuff were first coming in. They were getting popular, and my generation of new parents at that time, we thought it was so damn cool, and our kids were so damn smart because they know how to turn on the phone by themselves. They know how to swipe and get the screen open, and they found the apps that they like to play on their own. And oh, they created kids YouTube, and so it's like it was almost like we got tricked into allowing our children to fall into this. And now that they're all teenagers and older, it's like trying to backtrack all that has been like one of my biggest battles with my kids because they're hooked on phones, they're hooked on video games. And that was kind of how our generation tended to our kids when they were fussy. Oh, you're crying. Here, give her the iPad. And we just kind of we messed them up in that direction for sure. But we didn't know better at the time. We didn't know what it was going to turn into.
They marketed it as a tool. They marketed it as something that's going to be better for society. They told us that it's going to teach our kids to be smarter, that they're going to become more aware, that they have to understand technology in order to move on. Now we know that it's actually toxic. Now we know that if you give a kid a phone at 2 years old, they're actually going to figure it out really fast. If you give a kid a phone at 14 or 15, it's going to be like they never missed the first 14 years of not having it because phones and devices are that good. They're that intuitive. You don't need to have them to have it their entire life. They can figure it out fast. I mean, like, and the oldest generation are the most addicted to devices, aren't they?
I would say
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Like my mom, she's so addicted to her phone. She can't put that thing down. She's always looking at Facebook. She's always taking a picture. She's always trying to put it up immediately. Like, mom, put the phone down. She can't. She can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Addicted to it.
My mom's the exact same way. It's crazy that's so much truth to what you just said.
My parents,
Look at what someone just posted. Like, mom, don't share posts with me. I don't want you to send it.
my parents will send me TikToks, and I'm like, I don't even have TikTok. I don't do that. Sorry.
Moms are sitting in like TikTok lives.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what do you?
That's good stuff.
Matt, how many kids do you have?
Just the one.
Just one.
Okay. So I actually my daughter's going to be 6 months old in a couple weeks here.
That's so fast.
That it went by crazy fast. But one thing I've noticed so far is and maybe you can speak to this, but I am way harder on my son than
Oh yeah.
I can already tell. Like, obviously, she's still really small and as a baby, but I can already tell a difference in demeanor between me and I don't know. I don't know if like maybe I'm too hard on him, but it's just I can tell like already I'm trying to toughen him up or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's why they say that they're mama's boys and daddy's girls, man, because they get treated differently from that particular parent.
Yeah.
It's just the natural order.
I mean, it's just natural instinct of men, right? Men, you want to teach your men to survive. You want to teach your men and your boys to be fighters, to be tough, to be hard, to be masculine, to be able to survive and make it through society and do good, great things in life. And your girls, your daughter, it's your natural reaction to want to protect them
Mhm.
and just provide as much as possible, right? For their well-being. You don't want them to be hard. You don't want them to be tough. I mean, do they have to be tough? Yes. But that's not kind of your goal. You want to love them. You want them to have an amazing life. And that's how I feel about my daughter. I kind of want her to be a little spoiled because I want her to meet a guy that's going to spoil her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be tough on her and then she meets a guy that's going to be tough on her because girls marry their dads. And how you treat your dad sets the model of what she grows up thinking men should be like. That's what I truly believe. So I try to be as understanding as possible. I try to communicate as much as possible. I try to show her that men should act a certain way, and I try to make sure I act that way in front of her at all times, because we are models for our children. We don't teach our children. They actually, you can tell a kid a million things and tell them they have to do it a certain way. John, you know, you have older kids. They don't listen to you,
No.
but they will copy exactly what you do.
Oh, all day.
We are to be models for our children, not teachers of our children. And I think once people have that framework, that they will, women, girls marry their dads and sons become their dads.
Mhm.
I think that changes how you live life.
Well, definitely. I needed to hear that too about the little ones screaming. Sometimes I come home and he's screaming his head off. I'm like, oh my God, kid, just toughen up.
They don't understand. They
Yeah.
don't understand you. They've been waiting. He's been waiting all day for you to come home.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome, man. Hey, Matt, I'm sure we could talk to you all night, man. You're a great conversationalist. This has been a really good time. For us, it's a big deal getting to have you on, so we're super grateful to you for being here. I know it's late where you're at as well, so again, we appreciate that time away from your family so late at night. Is there anything you would like to close out with? Anything you just want to mention or say or speak to the people?
Yeah, always at the end of every show I do. If you enjoy this show, if you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy this modcast,
Yes, sir.
and you want to help and support them, the best thing you can do is actually share the show. That's actually the best thing you can do. Tell your friend. And it's not just, I'm going to share it and I'm going to send someone a link. I'm not going to share it on my social media. That's not good enough. Call your friend and be like, hey, I listen to this show. I watch these three guys. They talk shit at sometimes. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they're not. But I really like them. Go check it out. You have to tell people the warm transfer. If anyone's ever been in sales, the warm transfer is the most powerful transfer. Don't just be like, hey, and just send out a random link and say, I shared it. I'm trying. No, like call your friend. Tell them, check out this show. It's amazing. That's the best thing you do. So if anyone's watching that really wants to do something to help, share the show.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. We say that all the time, but I think you just did our outro for us. So we appreciate you, man. I'm going to go ahead and end this, but I'd like to keep you on just for a real quick one off after. So everyone, don't forget, like he said, share the show, tell your friends about us. Don't tell your friends about us. Talk good, talk bad. Doesn't really matter as long as you're talking about us. Peace.